The rain had been falling for hours, slow and relentless, the kind that seeps into your clothes and settles in your bones. It blurred the city lights and turned the cemetery paths into dark rivers of mud. At the far end, beneath a towering marble monument engraved with the young girl's name, a man dropped to his knees. His suit, worth more than most people earned in a year, soaked through without him noticing. His hands trembled as he pressed them into the wet grass, his head bowing until his forehead touched the cold stone. For the first time in years, the billionaire cried without restraint, his sobs breaking through the silence of the graves. He whispered apologies to a daughter he believed was gone forever. Unaware that just a few steps away, hidden behind an old oak tree, a young woman watched him with tears of her own, alive and breathing, her heart breaking all over again. Years earlier, the man had not always been this broken. Adrian Cole was once known as a visionary, a self-made millionaire who turned ambition into an empire. He had grown up with nothing, sleeping in cramped apartments and counting coins before buying bread. That hunger for success never left him. It drove him through sleepless nights, ruthless decisions, and a belief that love could wait until later. By the time he reached the peak of his power, his name was everywhere, his face on magazine covers, his fortune growing faster than anyone could track. Yet inside his massive glass penthouse, the silence was deafening. His daughter, Lily, had been the one bright light that pierced through his obsession. She was born during the early days of his struggle, when he still laughed easily and came home with stories instead of contracts. Lily had inherited his sharp eyes, but not his hardness. She was gentle, curious, the kind of child who asked why the moon followed the car and why grown-ups seemed sad even when they smiled. Adrian loved her deeply, but as his success grew, his time shrank. Meetings replaced bedtime stories, phone calls replaced hugs. He told himself he was building a future for her, even as the present slipped away. Lily grew up mostly in the care of nannies and tutors, learning early that her father's attention came in brief, expensive bursts. He bought her toys from around the world but missed her school plays. He paid for the best education but forgot her favorite color. Each absence left a small crack in her heart, invisible but growing. She tried to understand, telling herself that he was busy because he loved her, because one day everything would slow down. But childhood does not wait for success to arrive. The turning point came on a quiet evening that Adrian almost skipped. Lily was 14 and had begged him to attend her piano recital. He promised he would be there, even wrote it into his schedule. But a last-minute deal threatened to fall apart, and the board demanded his presence. He chose the deal. Lily waited on stage, her fingers hovering over the keys, scanning the audience one last time before the lights dimmed. The empty seat where her father should have been felt heavier than the grand piano itself. She played anyway, her notes trembling, each one carrying disappointment she did not know how to voice. That night, something inside Lily changed. She stopped asking for his time and began planning her escape. She wanted to prove that she mattered beyond his shadow, that she could survive without his wealth or approval. The idea grew quietly, fueled by years of feeling unseen. When she turned 17, she made a choice that would fracture both their lives. The official story said Lily had died in a tragic accident. Her car had gone off a cliff during a stormy night, bursting into flames before help could arrive. The body was unrecognizable, identified only by personal items found at the scene. Adrian was overseas when the call came. He collapsed in an airport lounge, the world spinning as if it had lost its center. By the time he returned home, the funeral had already been arranged, the grave prepared with a polished stone bearing her name and dates. He stood numb as strangers offered condolences, his mind refusing to accept what his heart already knew. What Adrian never knew was that Lily had planned her disappearance carefully. With the help of a trusted friend of her late mother, she staged the accident and slipped away with a new identity. She did not want his money or his pity. She wanted to know who she was without him, to live a life where she was not an afterthought. The guilt of letting him believe she was dead was crushing, but her pain felt unbearable too. She convinced herself that this was the only way to be free. Adrian's grief was absolute. He withdrew from public life, handing over responsibilities to executives while he spiraled inward. The empire he had built continued to thrive, but he did not. Nights were the worst. He would sit in Lily's untouched bedroom, surrounded by trophies and drawings, replaying memories he once rushed past. Regret became his constant companion. He replayed every missed moment, every broken promise, wishing he could trade his fortune for one more chance to be present. Years passed, and the sharp edges of grief dulled into a heavy ache. Adrian slowly returned to work, but something fundamental had changed. He began funding charities for children, building schools, and sponsoring scholarships, as if trying to atone for a failure he could never undo. People praised his generosity, unaware that every donation was an apology written in money. Yet no amount of giving could fill the hole Lily left behind. Meanwhile, Lily struggled in ways she never anticipated. Starting over was harder than she imagined. She worked small jobs, lived in modest apartments, and learned what it meant to count every dollar. For the first time, she felt seen for who she was, not whose daughter she was. She made friends who valued her honesty and strength. Still, nights brought dreams of her father, his face frozen in grief, haunting her conscience. She followed his life from afar, watching interviews, reading articles, seeing the changes in him. The guilt grew heavier with every year. The day Lily returned to the cemetery was not planned. She had been visiting her mother's grave nearby, her heart pulling her toward a place she had avoided for too long. She stayed hidden, afraid of confronting the lie she had lived. When she saw Adrian arrive, older and thinner, his once confident posture bent under invisible weight, her breath caught. She watched as he knelt before her grave, rain soaking him, as if the sky itself mourned with him. His sobs were raw, stripped of pride. He spoke of regrets, of love he failed to show, of a man who realized too late what truly mattered. Each word pierced Lily's heart. This was not the distant, distracted father she remembered. This was a man broken and reshaped by loss. For the first time, she understood the depth of his love. Buried beneath ambition and fear, she wanted to step forward, to call his name, to end the suffering they both carried. But fear held her back. What if revealing herself destroyed him? What if he could not forgive her for letting him grieve for years? She stayed hidden, tears streaming down her face, witnessing a moment that changed her forever. That night, Lily made a decision. She realized that running away had given her independence, but not peace. Healing required truth, no matter how painful. Over the following weeks, she prepared herself, writing letters she never sent, rehearsing conversations that ended in tears. She contacted lawyers and doctors, ensuring that proof of her identity was undeniable. She wanted no room for doubt or false hope. The day she chose to reveal herself, she returned to the place where everything had shattered. Adrian was there again, standing silently before the grave. When he turned and saw her, time seemed to freeze. At first, his mind rejected what his eyes saw. Grief had taught him to distrust hope. He stepped closer, his face pale, his hands shaking as if reaching for a ghost. The truth unfolded slowly, painfully, like reopening a wound to let it finally heal. Lily watched emotions collide across his face: disbelief, anger, relief, and overwhelming love. He fell to his knees again, not in grief this time, but in gratitude. Years of unspoken pain poured out, washing away the distance that had separated them for so long. Their reunion was not a miracle cure. Forgiveness took time. Trust had to be rebuilt carefully, brick by brick. Adrian learned to listen, truly listen, without distractions or excuses. Lily learned to accept that love can exist even when it is imperfect. Together, they faced the scars they had inflicted on each other, choosing honesty over silence. In the months that followed, Adrian reshaped his life. He stepped back from relentless expansion, focusing instead on balance. He spent mornings walking with Lily, evenings cooking meals together, learning the details he once overlooked. Lily returned to school, pursuing her passions with his support, not his control. Their bond grew stronger, grounded in shared vulnerability rather than expectation. The grave remained, a silent reminder of the past they could never erase, but it no longer symbolized loss. It stood as a testament to the cost of neglect and the power of redemption. Adrian often said that losing his daughter taught him how to truly see her. Lily understood that leaving forced her to find herself, but returning taught her the value of forgiveness. As the seasons changed, their story spread quietly, not as a scandal, but as a lesson. Wealth could build empires, but presence built families. Success could buy comfort, but love required time. Adrian became a man known not just for his fortune, but for his transformation. Lily became a voice for young people who felt invisible, sharing her journey with honesty and courage. If this story has touched your heart,